Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our program today, Simplify and Demystify, Teaching and Learning Medical Terminology with the Medical Language Lab. We're really excited that you decided to join us today, so thank you for giving us your time. Today, you'll be hearing from me. I'm the Medical Terminology Marketing Manager. My name is Jacqueline Scarborough, and I'm here with Colleen Kiernan, who is our e-learning solutions and services specialist. Colleen will be doing the live demonstration portion of our webinar today. She's going to be able to get into the program itself and show you the ins and outs. And if you have any questions during any part of this webinar, there is a Q&A box at the lower right-hand bottom of the screen. And if you would like to submit any questions, we'll be pausing briefly throughout the webinar at certain times. So we'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. So as I get started today, I want to give you an overview of what you can expect from today's program. First, I'm going to give you just a brief introduction to the Medical Language Lab and talk about the need we saw in the field and how Medical Language Lab differs from other programs out there and where you could be using it. And then I will switch it over to Colleen. She'll be doing the live demonstration. And then once the live demonstration is finished, we'll wrap it up with just some next steps. So what is the Medical Language Lab? Well, first, I want to talk about, we saw a need in medical terminology, and we found that students were having a difficult time retaining the terminology and instead focusing on memorization. We wanted to provide a solution to that, so we applied the method of learning a foreign language to that of medical language. And how does that come out in the program? Well, first, it's very progressive in nature. Students start out with basic skills, and they're able to advance to more advanced skills through exercises and different methods of learning. It's also multisensory, and that means that it's really engaging all the senses. It's great for students who have a different learning style. So first they're reading, and then they're writing medical terminology, they're speaking, they're listening. It really engages all aspects of learning a language. Next, it has a collaborative feature that you can opt in to. It has basically small groups are able to share and respond to each other's generation assignments, and we'll go into that a little bit more. That's in a discussion forum. And next, as you'll see here today, it's really easy to navigate, so there's no real confusion. The content in the program is specific to your textbook content. So each version of Medical Language Lab is designed to that content. The lessons and activities match, and there's no confusion so that it doesn't match up with what's being learned in the book. Okay, so how is it progressive? Well, you start out with the very basic skills and moving to advanced skills. But what does that really mean? Well, each lesson is structured, starting with the basic critical listening activities before progressing to response questions, where the student must then select the most logical response after listening to an audio scenario. Again, engaging those multiple sensory that you have, really putting them in the capability to using the language in all ways. The generation exercise that, just a sample, is both written and spoken and allows students to progress to speaking and writing a medical language. Practice makes perfect, so we have a collection of practice exercises included with each lesson. We know that students learn in a variety of ways, so this is why we engage the multiple senses. This speaks to different learning styles, and it's the idea of active learning. Students are able to engage in many different activities in each lesson, so they're listening, they're responding, they're using visuals like activities like labeling, even engaging in speaking and writing for the generation activities. And then there's also the opportunities for auditory, visual, kinesthetic learning for students. Again, we talked about how it's collaborative, and I'm sure when you think of online learning, you probably don't think that it could be collaborative. But Medical Language Lab fills in the missing piece and uses these generation activities for collaboration. Here you have a couple of examples of text and audio generation assignments, which have students will write short answers and record themselves speaking the answers. And then they can, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Students can complete that text generation exercise or record the audio and upload it so that it will directly appear in a discussion forum. Medical Language Lab allows the option of small groups assignments with these activities, and that way they can provide feedback. And it's the kind of group interaction you may only expect from a traditional face-to-face classroom, but now with this online program, students are able to work together in the online space. Again, I talked about how it's easy to navigate and really track progress of the students. It was designed with a really simple, easy navigation in mind. Instructors can easily create classes, and students can very easily sponsor the next assignment. And Colleen can go into the student and instructor dashboard, so you'll be able to see it live firsthand here today. After you go into a class, you will be able to see the screen showing you the progress of assignments, making it really easy to show the progress of the class. And then this is an example of the study plan generated by a pretest if it is selected. Students are provided with a nice visual rundown of the areas they may need to focus their attention. So if there's an area that they're still struggling with, this is a way that they can see what areas they should really go back and focus their attention on. It gives them the opportunities to show where they may need improvement. And then this provides an example of what the student will see in their gradebook. The students and instructors can both see how much time is spent in each one of these lessons, so there's really no guesswork. So where would you be able to use Medical Language Lab? Well, first, it can be used traditionally as a lecture because it pairs with its text. Each version, as I said before, each version of the Medical Language Lab content is custom to its text. It can also be used online, either with the book or with Medical Terminology Complete, depending on what product is right for you. And it's also available for the flipped classroom. Some of the products come with lecture videos, which is really perfect if you want to offer that flipped classroom. It is also self-paced, so it's a contained course and can be used with the pretest feature for students if they're testing out of medical terminology. And now I'm going to pass the ball over to Colleen Cannon so that she can do the live demonstration.
Great, thanks so much. One moment, I'll share my screen. And can you confirm that it came through okay, Jacqueline?
Yes, I can see your screen just great.
Great, thanks. So thanks so much, everybody. I'm really excited to show you Medical Language Lab. A couple of housekeeping notes before I dive in. The first thing is Medical Language Lab is a companion to many of our MedTerm books. So you may be considering a book that doesn't line up with what you're seeing on my screen. Don't worry about it. From a functionality standpoint, it operates just the same. The only thing that changes is the content under the hood. Second, I'll start with the student side of things, and then I'll switch gears and show you the instructor side and how you can pull and control some levers to help pace your students through the content. Along the way, I'll stop for questions. Don't forget that on your screen in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a Q&A box, and you can type your questions at any time. So let's go ahead and get started. Again, what you're looking at here is the student dashboard. And what I like about Medical Language Lab, there's a lot of things to like, but out of the gate, what I like is the clean layout and the easy way to navigate within the product. So at the top of my screen, what you see are a couple of resources. There's a pronunciation guide, really critical when you're trying to learn terminology. It's one thing to read it, but how do you pronounce it? That's a resource that's available to the students at any time. As Jacqueline mentioned earlier, there's a discussion forum for feedback between you, the students, and with each other. And then you can give them feedback on some of the critical thinking exercises. If I go ahead and I click into a lesson, the lessons are designed to complement or go along with the chapters. Every lesson is structured just the same. So for this particular title, what we have is a link to the chapter that corresponds with this lesson. There's a lecture video, and then down below, this is consistent for all products in Medical Language Lab. We have 4 exercise types. So just take a step back for a minute and think about how you typically learn a foreign language. At first, you're just kind of listening, trying to understand what people are saying to you. And that's exactly how this exercise type is structured. The students listen to a conversation, and after that, they're given a series of multiple choice questions, which essentially confirms that they understood what they just heard. Now, as you progress and you start learning the language, you might start to participate or respond to conversations. And that's just what we do here. In the response exercises, the students will listen to a conversation, but now the conversations that they're listening to will end with a question. What's the appropriate response? So now they're becoming active participants using the terminology. The generation exercises or critical thinking exercises, I always say this is right where the rubber hits the road. This is where the students are asked to use a term in their own words. So they will record themselves speaking and using the term in a sentence, and they'll also write a sentence using the term in their own words. Jacqueline mentioned earlier that we have a lot of practice exercises. So just think about this, different flavors for different students. You never quite can tell when is a student going to have their aha moment, when they really get it. We give them all sorts of different options, all different ways to interact with the content so that every learning style is met. So this is what the practice exercise is. I'm going to go ahead and click into a response exercise, and we'll listen to an audio file. Then I'll show you how the student completes the work, how that's given back to them, and I'll pause for questions just so you know where we're headed. So let's go ahead and listen to an audio file.
Hey, Sally, what brought you into the office today?
I'm having chills, a hard time catching my breath, and a cough that just won't go away. Sometimes I cough up thick green stuff. I've also been really tired lately, no matter how much I sleep.
You're experiencing common symptoms of pneumonia. I'll order a chest x-ray and test your sputum to confirm.
Pneumonia? I hear that word all the time on TV shows, but to be honest, I'm not sure what it means. Can you explain what pneumonia is exactly?
Okay, so there's that question. So the student progresses to the multiple choice, and I'm just going to choose option B, and I'm going to select grade. Okay, so here's what's happening on this screen. Option B was incorrect. I should have chosen option A. So what I really love, I mean, this really is one of my favorite features. What I love about the response exercises is that when you choose the incorrect answer, you actually get a response to the incorrect answer to kind of bring that conversation to a close. Let's go ahead and listen real quick.
Well, I need a supplementary oxygen treatment.
Okay, so, you know, it's just bringing the content to life, lifts it off the page, lets the student hear it and interact with it. The other thing that you see happening on this screen is that I can replay the original conversation and go back and see what did I miss in that conversation. I can also read the transcript, try again, or just go ahead and move forward to the next exercise. So let me pause right here, see if we've had any questions come in from the audience. So Jacqueline, any questions?
Yes, Colleen, we do have one question. Colleen, is there any way to make your screen larger on your computer? Just had a question come in that it's a little bit hard to read, and I wasn't sure if this was something you could do.
Yeah. So what I would recommend, it's as large as it can go on my screen, but on your side,
Okay.
above your view, for anyone looking at my screen, above the view of my screen in the top right corner, there's little arrow buttons that you can click to expand my screen so that it fills up your entire screen. So that's something you control on your side.
Thank you, Colleen. We did have one other question, and someone had asked if this was available for the iPad.
Oh, of course, yeah. So this is a website that's adaptive, so it will work on any device, your phones, your iPad, your computer, wherever you can get an internet connection, it will work.
Okay. Thanks, Colleen. That's all the questions that we have for right now.
Thank you. Okay, so moving forward, I just showed you the response exercise. And what I'm showing to you right now on my screen is just a text generation or critical thinking exercise. This is where the student would type in their response. You can turn these into group activities, as Jacqueline mentioned earlier, and you can also provide feedback to the students based on what they write. All right, let me get down to the practice exercises so we can see how those look. I'll start with building medical words. This is a nice part of the conversation for me to come clean and tell you all that I don't have a background in this topic, so please forgive me while I get it wrong. I'm sure very wrong, but you get the idea. Drag and drop exercises for the students where they build the term. Everything is graded upon completion in live time to your gradebook and the student's gradebook. I'll show you the flashcards. This is just a nice resource available to the students right at their fingertips. In the old days, I used to do this on paper, and I would have loved this if it was around. There we go. Okay, we'll show one more practice exercise, and then we'll move forward to the instructor side, maybe show one other thing, maybe the gradebook. Let's do the labeling. Okay, again, I would just really think of these exercises and all of the content for that matter within Medical Language Lab as a way to lift the content off of the written page and allow the students to interact with it hands-on. So more drag and drop where you're identifying different areas of the body. Okay, I'll show you the student gradebook, then I'll switch gears, and I'll show you the instructor side.
Colleen, we had a question come in.
Okay.
That was, where does the student work that results in a discussion forum?
Say it one more time.
Where does the student work that results in a discussion forum? And I believe they're asking about the text generation exercises and the discussion forums, how it will come up.
Yep. I'll have to show that on the instructor side, how that would be set up. It's not set up for this particular view, but I can dive into that in the instructor side.
Okay. Thanks, Colleen.
You're welcome. Okay, so everyone, this is the student gradebook. Couple things to note. Number one, again, updates in live time. Notice this column in the right-hand corner where it's tracking time spent, and it's calculating my grade as it goes along. That same type of view comes over to your side of things on the instructor side. If I was your student, you would most definitely talk to me about my work habits. So I'm not doing very well at all, but it's no wonder because I've spent a mere, less than 10 seconds per exercise. If the students ever need to go back and review their work, they certainly can. Once they complete it, it becomes a live link, and they can circle back to review. Okay, those are the high notes on the student side. Jacqueline, did we have any additional student questions trickle in before I switch gears to the instructor side?
One of the questions was, how do the students get access?
Yep, a few different ways. Option one is if you're using one of our textbooks and you buy a new book, there's an access code contained within the book, and so that's their ticket into Medical Language Lab. If you prefer ebook only, or you buy a used book, you can buy an access card from your bookstore, or you can go direct to fadavis.com and buy an access code. So different ways to get there, all pretty simple.
That sounds great. Thanks, Colleen.
Sure. Okay. So I've switched gears here, and now I'm over in my instructor side. So let me just give you a couple of pointers on what I would do if I were in your shoes. Number one, the first thing I would do when I logged into Medical Language Lab is I would click on Preview Student View. That's right next to the logo of the book. And that's really your ticket in to the student side of things, where you can take a very close look at the content and validate that it's going to work for your program. The second thing that I would do is I would check out the resources on Davis Plus. We have a lot of different instructor resources, test banks, PowerPoints, instructor guides. You should become familiar with those because they are meant to help you and you want to know if they're going to match your program. After you look at those two things, what you might want to do is take it for a spin, so to speak, and make sure it's something that you can enjoy using. So where you'll start is you'll start by clicking this Create Class button, and it will take you into a screen that does not look like this. So I just logged out. One moment. I'm going to stop sharing for 1 second, and I'll be right back. There we go. Okay, Jacqueline, I'm going to ask you if you can confirm that you can see my screen when I come back up.
Sure.
There we go.
There you are.
Okay, great. All right, so as I was saying, when you click the Create Class button, it takes you to a screen that looks like this. So think of it as you have two different paths you can walk down, so to speak. If when you're looking at our books and the content in Medical Language Lab, you say to yourself, I love it all. I'm going to cover every lesson in every chapter, and I want my students to have access to everything that's contained within Medical Language Lab. This is the only screen that you need to touch for setup. It will literally take you less than a minute, probably even less than 30 seconds. It's an easy thing to knock off of your to-do list. You'll simply add a class title, put in a description if you like, put in a start and end date for your course. So just think of it like this. That's the first and last day that the students can submit work to your gradebook. They don't lose access to your gradebook. They don't lose access to Medical Language Lab after your class ends. They just lose the ability to submit work to your gradebook. You click Save and Continue, and you're done. Now, you could go down the other path, which is customize the content within Medical Language Lab. I always describe this tool as sort of a rubber band. You can stretch it any old direction you want to meet your specific needs. You can do all of what I'm about to show you or only parts of it. It's really up to you. So Jacqueline mentioned earlier that there's a pre-test included within Medical Language Lab. Let's just say you think, I know they're all coming in fresh. They've never been exposed to this content before. I don't think a pre-test is necessary. Not a problem. One click takes it off the menu for the students. They don't see it or waste time working on something that you don't want them to review. Second, maybe you want a pretest, but you only want to cover certain lessons, so you can mix and match your lessons. Finally, down below, you can choose to randomize the questions, set a specific due date for this test, and then lastly, generate a study plan for your students. Remember that was that nice visual cue of red, yellow, green lights of areas, strengths, of weakness. That's a nice thing to offer, so I would keep that checked. Okay, moving forward with the customization process, what you can do is, let's say you were looking at all of the content and you thought, wow, it's just a little bit too much for the time that I have. I need to take something off of the to-do list for the students. I can't cover it all. Once you identify what you won't cover, if you drag it to the right, it removes it from the menu for the students. So again, they're not going to work on something that you don't plan to review. The next option is you've decided what you're going to cover, but maybe you don't want to cover it in the exact order that we have it structured. So this is where you can reorder the lessons so that it matches your specific syllabus. Now I'll move over to lesson settings. There's a lot happening here on this page. This is where you can really roll up your sleeves, so to speak, and pace the students through the content. So the first option you have, for every lesson, you can set a start date and a due date. Think of this as bite-sized pieces of information for your students. Week 1, lesson 1. Week 2, lesson 2. So as the students need the content, that's when it's released to them. Moving a little further down the page, you notice we have grading rules. So let's talk about the options. For those of you that like to flip the classroom or use this as a passport to class, the default grading rule of initial practice then grade is probably what you're going to stick with. Under this option, you allow the students to practice until they feel confident. And once they feel confident, they decide to click the grade button. So this is really designed to help them become stronger, and when they take the exams, you should see a nice spike in performance. The other end of that spectrum is you could turn everything into a test. And under grade on first attempt, it's just like what it sounds like. You get one chance, and then you're graded. Practice only, total opposite end. This is where the students only practice. They will not be shown grades. So here's where you might say to your students, don't get hung up on where to click to get the right answer. Focus in on the content. Just try to learn it. Don't get hung up on your scores within Medical Language Lab. So any way you want to stretch it, you can. Now, so there was a question earlier about how to set up the generation exercises as a group assignment. So as an FYI to you, if that's an option that you want to choose, you'll go ahead and click this box right here. The tool will give you the option to set up groups yourself. You can hand select which students you want in which group, or you can just say to the tool, set up groups of 5, randomly put them together. Once you do that, it comes through on the student's dashboard. So I would say that for the person who asked that question, if you still have additional questions, let Jacqueline know in the Q&A, and I'll probably reach out to you direct to show you firsthand how you can make that work with larger classes. Scrolling down a little bit, you could really stop there and just customize on a lesson-by-lesson basis. But as an FYI, you could go a little further if you wanted to. So down below, you can customize each exercise. So a couple of things to note. You might want to mix and match your grading rules. Perhaps you want to make the critical listening exercises practice, but when they graduate up to the response exercises, you want to make that grade on first attempt, so you can mix and match. Also note that there are dates associated with each exercise. So for instance, if you're working in a lab environment Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you could set this up so that these exercises are released to the students on their lab days. Finally, if you decide, this is just too much work for them, I'll just give them one response exercises. They don't need both. If you unclick it, it takes it off the menu for the students. If you're on the fence, notice that these are live links. So when I click on that link, it opens up the exercise so I can take a closer look at the content as I'm making my decisions. Okay, 2 more things to show, and then I'm going to stop for questions. Post-test settings. So I'm hoping you're noticing a lot of consistency in Medical Language Lab. Just like the pre-test, if you want to take it off the menu, one click of the button, you can mix and match, randomize the questions. When you're done all of that customization, you'll want to check your work. So this is where the class overview page really comes in handy. You can check your dates, check your grading rules, make sure that everything's set up just the way that you want. That sure was a lot of information right there, and it's pretty important to most instructors, so I think I'll stop and see if we have any questions.
Hi, Colleen. We do have a question, and that is, do the students have to complete all of the exercises for a grade to populate in the gradebook? I wasn't sure if you could answer that for us.
Yeah. What will happen is, so if you're kind of steadily working your way through a lesson, say there's 6 exercises in a lesson, as you complete a lesson, that specific lesson will be graded, and the other ones will just be marked in the instructor's grade book as not started yet. So you'll see, and I'll show you that in a minute, you'll see in your instructor's grade book that it's very easy to track where they are. It will even show you if, for instance, they started an exercise and for some reason they had to stop and walk away from their computer. it will change from not started to in progress. Good. Other questions?
That's actually all we have right now.
Okay.
I think you're doing a great job showing everything.
Thanks. So let me just give you some good news here. If you're sitting there scratching your head and you're like, I really do think that I will customize, here's the good news. The clone class feature, which you see right here on my dashboard next to my class, this is just the ability to copy a course out. So once you put in that time and effort to customize, you will not have to do that for every section or every class. It's a time saver. Copy your master course out, and everything comes with it. Now, taking that example one step further, let's just say that Jacqueline and I are colleagues. We're both using Medical Language Lab, and I say, hey, you know what, I'll do you a favor. I'll take the lead on setting things up in Medical Language Lab. Then I'll clone or copy that course out for you, and with the instructor's icon, I can add Jacqueline in just by putting her email address in to join the course as an instructor. Now, you can handle this a few different ways when you invite another instructor into one of your copied courses. Number one, you could give them read-only access. Let's say Jacqueline's an adjunct, and I really want to ensure that the students are receiving a consistent experience when they use Medical Language Lab. So read-only allows her to see all of the students' work, but she wouldn't have the ability to change any of the customization. Or maybe Jackie and I are just colleagues, and this is just an FYI, this is how I'm using it, and I want to give her the freedom to do with it what she will, and I could give her full access to change anything, and then there's a couple of steps in between there. So again, back to that image of just stretching this rubber band, you can go any direction that you want to make it fit your unique needs. I'll show you the instructor gradebook, talk you through a couple of key features there, and then I'll stop for questions. Okay, getting into the gradebook. So again, with consistency, I think this is where we really excel as a company with our digital products. Many products, when you're using them, what you see as an instructor is so different from what the students see that it's really hard to connect with them and have a conversation about what's happening within the tool. We are consistent. Your view and the student's view is very similar, and you can really see that shine through on the gradebook. So here are all of my students. You see I've got that time spent column down the right-hand side. I see the grade is being calculated, and then I can drill down into every student and take a closer look at their work. So as the student completes the work, you see on an exercise-by-exercise basis whether they've completed it, they haven't started it. If you're using one of our titles that has a lecture video or an ebook embedded, you can even see if they've viewed the content. Once they complete the exercise, just like for the students, that becomes a live link. So often I'll hear instructors say that this is really handy when you have a student who's struggling. Maybe they're having a hard time grasping the content, so you're going to click through and take a look at the work they've completed to say, are they even in the right ballpark? Are they close and just getting hung up on a couple of things? So all of that work carries through to your gradebook, and you can pull it up as needed. Back to my gradebook for a minute. For those of you who are using an LMS system like Blackboard, Angel, you name it, we're compatible with most major LMS systems, and you can incorporate our gradebook into your LMS system. Think of it as a two-step process. We'll go to the Export Gradebook feature, download it into a spreadsheet, and then upload that spreadsheet into your LMS system. It's really that easy. So gradebooks are usually a very item of hot interest for instructors, so I think I'll stop right here, Jacqueline, and see if we have any questions.
Hi, Colleen. We do have one question, and this is something that I'm not sure about that I can easily follow up with. I wasn't sure if you knew that we mentioned that some of the textbooks have lecture videos for the flipped classroom, and one of our participants was wondering what the textbooks were.
Oh, that's a great question. I think if you're not really sure which book will suit your needs, that probably is a conversation best left for a one-on-one, because we do have so many titles. So rather than listing them out, I think we can follow up direct.
Okay, thank you, Colleen. I'll make sure to follow up with the participant.
Okay, great. So I'll get back to
we
my
have
desk.
one more.
Oh,
I apologize. I'm talking over you. We have one more question that's coming in. Why the grades may not be appearing in the demo?
I think that what they might be asking about is in the grade book that I pulled up, there might be some zeros or empties, and that would be because the student hasn't started the work. So grades are populated upon student completion of the work.
Okay. It does sound like we'll follow up with the participant, maybe having just a bit of technical issues. So we offer many options for support, either a personal demo, or we also have many support features. So we can definitely follow up if there's any technical issues, and we can do so in this case.
Okay, great. Okay, so if that's the end of the questions, I think I'll leave everyone with just some closing remarks to think about. The first thing is, I think group webinars are a really nice introduction to a product that you're considering. Once you're able to log in and take a closer look, you are likely going to have some specific questions to your program. Please let us know. Either Jacqueline and I will be happy to schedule a one-on-one demo with you. And then the other thing to note is if you do decide to adopt, we have all sorts of support systems in place for you and your students. Among them is a one-on-one onboarding session where someone from the e-learning specialist department will actually meet with you privately, assess what you're trying to accomplish by using this, and help you set up your course correctly. So that's a really nice service. You're not on your own in the black hole trying to figure this out. We're here to help you along the way. So unless there's other questions, Jacqueline, I think I can hand it back to you.
Thanks so much, Colleen. Thank you for doing such a great demo today.
My pleasure. I hope everyone has a good day.
And I'd just like to wrap up today's webinar with just some next steps that you can take. As Colleen talked about, possibly doing a one-on-one demo. If you feel that you just have some more questions and you like a more intimate look into the program. You can also request a 90-day access pass. And this way you can really explore and play with Medical Language Lab on your own and get to know what it can really do and the real power of it. We also offer some videos. If you visit medicallanguagelab.com, we offer some videos that go into steps of how to use and how to get started. And yes, there's plenty of ways. You can please email us at demo@fadavis.com if you have any more questions. And some of the questions that we had here today in the webinar, I will follow up with you to kind of help you out with those situations. But I just want to thank everyone for taking the time today to learn about Medical Language Lab. I really appreciate your time, and I hope that you're excited as we are. So thank you so much.